Hello everyone, it's me, Juan, giving you a better video today. We're going to be doing another reaction video of the Map Pad Appreciation Marathon. I'm pretty sure that we had the Tank episode, or the Game Lab remake, as I'm currently doing a video on that. It should be out right about now, I guess. But yeah, we're going to be going off with a 100-year-old family recipe. Personally, I don't think I ever had a family recipe, but we do make some great tacos. Something with the meat, I don't know. But anyways, we're going to be doing a reaction video on it. So, let's carry on, shall we?
Show that fills your stomach and your heart. After so many years online, it really feels like there's not a lot left that you have to learn about me. And yet, did you know that I actually come from a Polish family? Yeah,
what?
It's not something that you'd expect from a Matthew Patrick, but it's true. Polish, Czech, and Slovak. It's not really something that I think about myself all that often, and yet I grew up with polka parties playing at my grandparents' house, munching down on pierogi and kolaczki, foods that are spelled with way too many consonants next to each other. You know that you're dealing with a serious dish when you see the letters C, Z, and K all mixed together. That right there, that's a Polish dish. But as a picky eater growing up, I was scared of a lot of those traditional family foods. Hot stewing all day filled to the brim with cabbages, kielbasas, sauerkrauts, sour soups with pungent smells that seeped into every fabric of the house. They were always there, hanging out on the stovetop, but I never really would eat them. Heck, I would barely even try them. They were just weird. No, my meals typically tended to stay squarely in the standard American diet. Burgers, pizza, fries. But a little while back, I came across a number of recipes that were given to me by my late grandfather. Well, technically, he left them to Stephanie because he knew just how bad I was in the kitchen. They'd been sitting in the closet, hanging out in an accordion folder, so we decided to take them out and put them into a cookbook so they'd be easier to save.
I genuinely don't have nothing to say, just rest in peace.
I mean, who really wants to take a day and make a bunch of cabbage soup, right? Well, you know what? Today, I do. This episode's something that's been on my mind a lot lately. Thinking about memories, family, legacy, impact. Maybe it's because we've been going through and crossing off all these episodes on my to-do list, and it's just gotten me to think further and further back. And
I genuinely don't got nothing to say, just
really connected to that
I'm sorry
history.
what happened.
I mean, I pull out
you
the
know,
cookbook and I can't even pronounce half the dishes that are inside.
May he
this.
fly
I
high.
can't even pronounce this. This is kreplach. Kreplach soup. Luckily, we have the power of editing on our side.
Voiceover. Just move your mouth and then you can put it in afterwards.
Yeah, here we go. This is one of my grandpa's favorite ponchki recipes right here. Wow, isn't that amazing? Don't you love ponchki?
Oh my gosh.
Ponchki?
It's my favorite.
Right? It's
now Stephanie sounds like Matt.
I can say it all day. Ponchki, 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 ponchki. There it is. I know. It's like I'm fluent or something. But in all seriousness, one of the things that struck me recently was that as an only child, without me cooking these recipes, without me passing them on, they disappear. That part of my heritage just goes away. And so weird or not, I kind of owe it to myself and to my grandfather, to everyone before him, to keep those recipes alive. Cabbage or no cabbage. But I gotta admit, one of the reasons why I haven't dove into this is because when I was a kid, I was scared of a lot of the recipes. I didn't actually eat a lot of my grandparents' cooking back in the day because it always smelled weird. But I think since being a kid, my flavor palette has really grown and my appreciation of different ethnicities of food has really expanded a lot. So I think I've evolved enough as a human being to test out some of my grandpa's favorite recipes. And I'm not the only one. I've invited some other members of Team Theorist, including editor Gerardo, graphic artist Nicole, and of course, Steph, to join me in cooking some of their own family recipes. That way we can all take some time to connect with our pasts and see whether keeping these family recipes alive is a tradition that's outdated or whether there's some kind of magic hidden inside those long-forgotten cookbooks.
Personally, it's magic.
Where does the tradition of family recipes really come from? You would think that we've been passing down recipes for as long as we've been around on the planet, but you gotta remember that our early days were more hunt, kill, eat, unless, I wonder if that mammoth is gonna partner well with some pomegranates.
Dang.
We only actually started cooking with fire around 780,000 years ago. If that sounds old, well, remember, mankind is like 2 million years old. And if you thought recipes would follow soon after, well, you'd be wrong. We can assume that they were passed down through word of mouth, but as far as written recipes go, we're gonna have to fast forward just a wee bit, a couple 100,000 years or so, to when the concept of reading and writing was invented. The oldest written recipes known to us date back to 1730 BC, and include ingredients for about 25 stews and broths, as well as some basic cooking instructions. There's even suggestions in there for presentation. Just imagine a 4,000-year-old Gordon Ramsay chiseling out how to prepare a lamb stew into a slab of rock. But even then, recipes were a far cry from what we're used to today. They were written more narratively because they were typically dictated to the person who was actively doing the chiseling. But there was still something else standing in the way of family recipes being passed down after this. Literacy wasn't exactly the best. Rare were those that knew how to write, and even rarer were those who could read. Not only that, mass printing was not a thing, so it was fairly costly to make cookbooks. That's why the earliest cookbooks were actually for royalty.
Of
the
course.
first modern cookbook was published in 1390 for King Richard II.
Of course it had to be the
so
royals.
That his servants, more than likely, would cook the recipes for him. Don't really see old Rich there throwing on an apron and getting down in the kitchen.
Nope.
But finally, a couple centuries later, with the advent of mass printing, literacy rates started to rise, and the luxury of cookbooks started to wane as more and more common folk were trying to get their hands on them. Cookbooks then continued to evolve until we finally started getting the modern cookbook in the 19th century. But the best thing about people learning to read and write was that they could start recording their own personal recipes and techniques, allowing them to develop their family recipes in order to pass down from generation to generation. That's what makes these things so special. It's the fact that they become inextricably linked to the family itself, their heritage, their culture. But as time has gone on, things like family dinner with multiple dishes and hours of preparation, it's becoming harder to have. For most of us, we get back home from work and we have to scramble to make something quickly for our families, or we get in the car and just drive to the Olive Garden to feast on a basket of breadsticks. Over time, at least for me, the history in these recipes has become forgotten, neglected, relegated to just a dusty shelf in the kitchen. I have never made any of these before.
Now you can atone. You can atone for your past and be ready to embrace your family heritage.
Yeah, that's, I mean, sad that it's coming so late in the game, but I'm excited to finally tackle these favorite soups. So here we go. This is the kielbasa and cabbage soup, which is basically a whole lot of kielbasa, a whole lot of cabbage.
All right.
And some soup.
And soup. Like, it is basically what you see on the tin. There's not a whole lot of explanation needed there. And then throw them in the pot to steep, saute,
steep,
simmer,
I think.
To soup. Whatever cooking process happens to turn ingredients into soup, that's what we're going to be doing.
Do that one.
So, since this is a food channel,
There we go.
I'm compelled to clarify that when it comes to soup making, you simmer, which involves cooking the ingredients in a liquid just below boiling. That is the primary method of cooking soup. But as we began to prepare the ingredients to start our souping, there was one thing that kept nagging at my mind. Here's my question, Steph.
Yes.
Do you enjoy the smell of your own farts?
What?
Just in case you're wondering where that came from, clearly it was the cabbage. Cabbage makes you stinky. And when you're prepping to eat a whole head of cabbage as part of your family soup recipe, you batten down the hatches for some serious smell. There is a silent but deadly gene. I got that. It's pretty odoriferous.
Oh
This
no.
coming up as you're like one of your last ever food theories, because you're like, basically nothing matters anymore. There are no stakes.
There is no shame.
But there is a lot of kielbasa. No stakes. If I'm going out, I'm going out with a bang and a tube.
Plumbing your family's past, you're just gonna make sure that everything is accurate.
I'm not plumbing the past. I'm cleaning the pipes. So I think the kielbasa's brown. You're welcome, friends, for the deep Matt Pat lore that obviously you've been craving all these years. Personally, I find I think my farts nice. They're kind of silent but deadly, though.
I can tell you, that's not true.
Yeah, from an outsider's perspective. I said, do you like the smell of your own farts? I think your farts are also pretty unpleasant.
The answer is no on both counts. And, dude, you're my best friend.
We are best friends.
But you can...
Yeah,
it's pretty powerful. I think I inherited that from my mom.
Yeah.
Dang.
Inherited it from my grandpa.
And my father's before me.
With our stove and our bowels working hard, it's time to go check in with our other team members, huh? We got editor Gerardo, who's making the traditional Colombian dish ayako, another family soup, but this one with 100% less cabbage. Instead, you're looking at chicken, 3 different kinds of potatoes, and a unique herb known as guasca. And the ingredients not easy to find stateside, something that Gerardo took personal offense to.
But it's not the same, man. You just have to feel it.
Going a little further down geographically, we have Nicole making charquican from Chile. And that's Chile, the country, not chili, the dish. In fact, this dish contains no chili. Instead, it contains potato, pumpkin, corn, and most importantly, charqui. What's charqui, you ask, and why does it sound like I coughed in the middle of saying the word jerky? Well, because they're one and the same. In fact, jerky is derived from the word charqui in Quechua, the indigenous language family from the Andean region of South America. But perhaps the craziest thing about Nicole's dish is that she's going purely off memory from a very long time ago.
I have
Going off
tried
memory.
this recipe in over 16 years, since I was like 19 or something. I don't even remember how it tastes. I just remember slight memories of this dish. But yeah, I am pretty excited.
If I tried going off book for the recipe that we're preparing, this episode would have just been me running
It
around.
would have been a disaster.
Detectors going off. Good on you, Nicole. But back to our kitchen, where it's time for us to get started on the final dish of the day, Stephanie's bacala fritters. So now that my family recipe is on the stove, it's time to switch over to Steph and take the fish out of the bathtub.
Yeah, exactly. My family recipe is one I'm very excited about, and it actually takes a combination of two of my other favorite family recipes and brings them together. The two family recipes that I really wanted to kind of try to incorporate into this episode were, one, my family's fried dough recipe, which is basically just fried pizza dough. You can do it savory, you can do it sweet, you can sprinkle it with powdered sugar. It's like the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. And but it's too easy. It's like kind of too simple.
Yeah, easy mode.
On the other end of things, I wanted to incorporate my dad and my grandma's bacala recipe. So bacala, if you're not familiar with it, is dried salted cod. You buy it outside of the refrigerator section. It's literally like a salted preserved fish, and it comes in this big slab.
Do you buy it? Where are you finding this?
Yeah, you can buy it at some specialty grocery stores. We get it at the Asian grocery store because they also use dried salted fish. It's the same kind of thing. It's also in South America. It's in Mexico. I mean, everybody has versions of bacala, and so it's actually not that uncommon, but it's pretty uncommon in the U.S. So we got some.
Oh, okay.
And the way that you prepare it is first you have to get all the salt out before you can actually use it, and you could do that by just putting it in a big pot and leaving it to soak for a while. But if you're doing it the real grandma way, you soak it in the bathtub for 48 hours. And so that's
48 hours.
Downstairs to the office, we chucked her in the bathtub, and you change the water every few hours and stuff like that, and it comes out.
The water every few hours.
Well, you wouldn't sit in a bathtub for more than a few hours with the same water. That would just be unhygienic.
In any case, this high-maintenance slab of salted fish is the key ingredient. And for those of you wondering why we buy a salted fish just to remove all the salt in a bathtub, it's because the salt is actually used as a preservative, not for flavoring. So the idea is to rehydrate it to remove the salt so you can re-season it into whatever you're cooking. It's a very demanding fish, but Steph assured me I had to wait and judge for myself.
It's deep
It's a
fried.
very demanding
It's
fish, it
amazing.
is.
It comes out this awesome golden brown. I think I'm gonna have the winning recipe of the day and also honor my ancestors appropriately.
Sorry, can I just call out the fact that at no point throughout this episode has this ever been a competition, and then Stephanie starts talking, and all of a sudden there's
It is a
clear
competition.
winners and losers with our ancestors, Stephanie. Our ancestral recipes. You're like, I'm gonna win. It's not a competition.
It's not a competition. This is honoring.
Stephanie's Italian side is showing hard in this episode. But in all honesty, once we started cooking and trying the components, the recipe was delicious. Before you go,
No. Grr.
I'm gonna take a little bite of this guy.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Okay. Yeah, it's really good.
Ooh. It's delicious.
Oh, that's really good. It is crispy on the outside and gooey on the
Ooh,
inside.
like
That's
Ric
really
Flair.
good. Oh, that's pleasant. That's a really nice texture.
Okay.
Gotta admit, I was getting pretty hyped for this one. But then I remembered that smack dab in the middle of that delicious dough, we were gonna be putting a bunch of salted fish. Yum. I decided to mix it up just a wee bit from that and make some with Nutella and marshmallow. Not to knock the family recipe or anything, but if I'm frying dough, I'm making it into the most delicious donut fair food thing that I can create. But just by looking at these things, you could tell that they were gonna be delicious. Stephanie, how's it feel?
It feels great. I'm so excited to have accomplished this. It feels exactly the way the recipe said it would be. I feel like I really stuck to it and did it exactly the way you're supposed to. I'm just excited to taste them. I'm so proud of myself.
They look so nice.
Right?
They're really cute.
Yeah.
Aww.
And you're supposed to eat them right after you cook
Too
them.
bad
and
they're
we've
going into
just
my
gotten
belly.
them out of the oil, so I think this is exactly the way they're supposed to be served.
And I think one cool thing that's worth calling out here is even though we're pressed for time and in terms of the shoot and things like that, we took extra time to experiment more with it. We were having so much fun with it, which I think is really noteworthy.
Yeah.
In our hectic lives, we're like, oh man, we have so many things to do. We're like, hey, this is kind of cool. What if we throw in this? Or what if we throw in that? We got a cheese one in here. We got a Nutella one in here. We got
a marshmallow one, a plain one. I'm really excited.
So you also don't know what you're going to get. You might get salty fish. You might get salty anchovy. You might get a little dessert, like in every flavored jelly bean challenge with salty fish. Joy. But for as unappealing as all this sounded on paper, when everything was out of the frying pan and into my mouth, my reaction says it all. These little dough balls were outrageously good. The chewiness was out of this world. And the salty
Very
fish,
yummy.
great. Stephanie's a big texture gal.
Oh yeah, my favorite flavor is chewy.
Stephanie's huge in textures. I absolutely see why this is like your favorite thing ever.
Absolutely.
How have we not made this?
You know, it's one of those things, again, it's not easy. You have to have like an excuse to make this.
And that sentiment was pretty
And
much
you gotta
universal
change the
for
fish.
all the family recipes.
The fish
I
water.
hope my grandma is happy because Jesus, I had to replace so many of the ingredients to suit the flavor as much as possible to make it like be as legit as I possibly could, and that's probably why I haven't made this recipe because
She's wearing all my
not exactly
jackets.
the same, and the preparation takes forever.
Which just left us back where we began, the fart factory.
Oh no,
My
not the
family's
fart
favorite soup. I
factory.
gotta admit,
Please
going
don't make
into
me
our
go
final
back.
taste test, I was feeling like this one was gonna be a bit of a losing battle. I do have to admit though, you know, we're coming off of like those delicious fritters. It's literally like a carnival food.
Good old
It was
pizza
awesome.
fritti bacala.
So, you know, meat and cabbage soup it's operating at a different level. Let's just say that.
I would say we should adjust our expectations maybe a little bit just based on the visual, but we'll see.
The visual of, you know, tomato soup with a lot of cabbage.
Yeah.
Admittedly, not the most eye-catching, and really not the most nose-catching either. Like, this stuff has a pretty pungent smell, but it was the smell of my grandparents' house from when I was a kid. For as odd of a smell as it is, I couldn't help but smile. You know how you walk into your grandparents' house and there's just like a smell to it? And it's uniquely a
Yeah, I
smell
have that
for
same
that
smell
house,
too
and you
whenever
never really smell
I
it in any other place.
visit
This is
my grandparents' house. It's
house's
just I know
smell
like
that just, like,
yes,
oozed
memories.
from every pore of that building. And while I was certainly familiar with the smell, I didn't know anything about the taste. So after nearly 3 decades of avoiding trying this thing, it was finally time to sample
eat.
my grandfather's soup.
The flavor is very nice.
The flavor's great.
Yeah.
The flavor's so much better than the smell.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you just kind of have to ignore the smell and go in for the flavor.
Oh.
It's nice and acidic and bright, actually. It's got lots of the tomato. The cabbage gives it a little bit of earthiness. The kielbasa is like just the right amount of umami and salt. This is a very well-balanced soup.
Right?
I like it.
Delicious.
The flavor is so well balanced. And it hits on, there's a little bit of sour, there's a little bit of sweet, there's a little bit of salty. This is so good. It's funny, going in, we expected this episode to be just us cooking a bunch of dishes, food. But what happened when we all bit into what was passed down to us was nothing less than a ratatouille scene where Antonigo flashes back to his childhood.
That's
Gives me
pretty
like
much the
two,
sum up. That's pretty
you know,
much
people who
what's
I
how to
most
sum up
closely
this
associate
video.
with cooking, special family foods in my household, which are my grandma and my dad. My grandma's side, her fried dough was like, it's like the best thing I've ever eaten in my life, maybe up until today. Having a memory of that, because she's no longer with us, is really special, and this tastes so similar to the type of fried dough that she would make. It makes me so happy. And then on the other side, my dad's like zany bacala recipes that he does, and we have bacala every Christmas Eve, so I have a lot of holiday memories. I have memories of my dad. There's like very nice family memories of like wonderful times of year when we're together. This is kind of a perfect recipe, I think.
Yeah.
I could not be happier with the way it turned out.
I imagine like summer days. I imagine my grandma on the kitchen. And oh my God, I was such a complainer. I was a kid and I'm like, oh, but is there no salad? Because summers in Chile are very, very hot. There was charqui ham. And I'm like, oh man, but this dish is so hot, Grandma. But you know what? You never know what you have until you lost it. So now wow, this is crazy.
My grandmother, she passed away like a few years ago. She was the one that basically teach my mom the recipe for this kind of soup. It has been passed on through
the
all
most
the family
sober
because
but
of her. My
heartwarming
brother actually through was
episode
COVID,
ever.
and even,
Because
like,
I
through
can't
the
really
years
say
that I was
nothing
not here
because
at home,
like
he was actually with my mom the most, and he actually learned a lot of the recipes
I might,
from my
I
grandmother.
don't know. I think I might
She
try
teach
and
my
ask
mom. He actually knows
Grandma
how to do
if
it.
I
He
can
had
ever,
to really
cook
well.
with her, and
Like for
I'll,
this
I don't
little
know,
project that we were
maybe
talking
something.
about, I
But
actually asked him directly
I don't
the
know.
recipe because my mom told me that he made it much better than herself, which that's actually kind of amazing, knowing that now this latest generation is actually improving the recipe that we have always had before.
And I think that's
And
what's
that's
so
a great
satisfying
thing.
about this whole experience. Nowadays, it's easy to just dismiss old things, right? We literally have the world's collective knowledge at our fingertips instantaneously through the internet. But
Yeah.
today showed me how valuable the knowledge of the past is. That red book of recipes, some handwritten, some from other cookbooks, some from the local newspaper. That curated list of foods, that was my grandfather's legacy, his childhood. And instead of just shoving it aside because the things take too long to cook or smell strange or whatever, today today I decided to embrace it. We learned from it and the collective memories of our loved ones. And it showed
This,
us
this
how
is
valuable
this
taking
is
the
hurting my
time
heart.
was.
Don't make me
In the
cry now.
process, we infused
Don't
it
make
in
me
ourselves
cry
and we
now.
needed to come out on
I
the
didn't
other
sign
end
up
with
for
something
this.
that would make the ones that aren't here anymore proud. So in the end, despite needing to spend 2 days with a fish in the bathtub and me needing to take a healthy dose of Beano, the experience of reconnecting with our families is totally worth it. In fact, for Nicole and I, it was a little bittersweet because both of us realized that moments had passed us by.
Oh boy, if I can only go back in time and punch my kid's cell phone, push her, and sit on her place and eat the chunky can, I would do it too.
Whenever I would go visit my grandparents, they would always ask, like, hey, we got some soup on. Do you want to try some? Do you want to have some? Do you want to have some? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I missed out. And I kind of look back and I'm sad about that. But I'm glad that I didn't let it pass me by this whole time. And that it didn't just get lost in a cabinet or closet somewhere. But after today, I know that this makes me want to work my way through this cookbook with Steph and Ollie. And who knows, maybe we'll put our own spin on it, modify it, add recipes to it. And then Ollie will be able to take that gift with him. That's really the beauty of these family recipes. They're threads that trace bits of our identities back to our ancestors. But also
relax, Juan. You're not crying, all right? You as a gamer, okay? Gamers don't cry.
Carried across time. And hey, if you want to be a part of that legacy and sample it for yourself, we've actually included all the recipes down in the description below. And please,
really?
While you're down there, if you have a family recipe, put it down in the comments. Let this video serve as a type of collective theorist cookbook so that the memories can truly live on forever. Because that's the true secret ingredient. And as always, my friends, remember, it's just a theory. A food theory.
That's very heartwarming. Anyways, back to straight face. So that's gonna be the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like the video so I know you guys enjoy. Comment down below. What do you guys think? Like, you guys got any family recipes? I mean, it's been a long time since I cooked, but shoot, I mean, like, now if I think about it, Five Nights at Freddy's did make a cookbook, and I never do a review on it. Maybe I could try and do a Fazbear Frights cooking bit. Who knows? Anyways, and be sure to subscribe, because, we're trying to upload daily. This is Juan Gamer 54, signing off.